In this video, I'll be helping you with a math topic called using the order of operations, as seen here in the OpenStax College Algebra 2nd edition text. We're asked to use the order of operations to evaluate each of these expressions. And from this chapter, we were given the order of operations, which is commonly remembered by the acronym PEMDAS, meaning that we start with our parentheses, or grouping symbols, move then to exponents, multiplication and division get done together, left to right, and addition and subtraction get done together from left to right. So that's illustrated here in the how-to section. We're going to apply the how-to steps here for each of these questions. Starting with our grouping symbols, we can see in question A, we have this operation inside of a grouping symbol and also this one. So to simplify, I'll start by multiplying the 3 and the 2, which gives me a 6. And then inside the second parentheses, we have 6 plus 2, which gives me an 8. We have evaluated the grouping symbols. We would then move to our exponents or radicals. And since I do have an exponent here, that would be my next step. 6 squared would be 36. And then we would move to multiplication and division from left to right. We have one instance of multiplication here. So evaluating that, -4 times 8 would be a minus 32. We're left with just one operation, subtraction here. 36 minus 32 would be 4. So we have simplified A as much as possible. We'll move on to B. Here, when we start with our grouping symbols, I can see that this numerator has been grouped together so that it's all in the numerator over 7, and that underneath the radical, this is also being grouped together. So I can start by evaluating each of these. In the numerator, I have both an exponent and subtraction. And since the next step is exponents and radicals, I would start with the exponent. 5 squared is 25 minus 4. And inside the second radical, 11 minus 2 is 9. I still recognize this as a grouping symbol. So I'll continue and say that 25 minus 4 is 21 over 7 minus the square root of 9. Continuing with my exponents and radicals, the square root of 9 can now be simplified as just 3. With no more exponents or radicals, I can move on to multiplication and division. And we do have here 21 over 7 is division. So that would simplify 21 divided by 7 is 3. Lastly, we have addition and subtraction. 3 minus 3 would be 0. So our second expression simplified to 0. Moving to our third example, we would again start with our grouping symbols. And inside this absolute value, the 5 minus 8 has been grouped. And inside the parentheses, we also have 4 minus 1 grouped together. Simplifying each of these, inside the absolute value, 5 minus 8 is a -3. And inside these parentheses, 4 minus 1 is a +3. Continuing to simplify inside these grouping symbols, I can evaluate the absolute value of -3 as just a +3. With no exponents or radicals, I can then move on to multiplication and division. I do have multiplication here, so 3 times 3 is a +9. Addition and subtraction, going left to right, I would start with 6 minus 3, which is 3, and then continuing to move to the right, 3 plus 9 would be 12. So we've simplified the third example to 12. Moving on to example D, we do have grouping symbols such that everything in the numerator is grouped together and everything in the denominator is also grouped together. In the numerator, I have addition and subtraction and multiplication. So the multiplication would be the first operation to do in the numerator. So a negative 3 times 2 would be a minus 6. In the denominator that's been grouped together, I've got multiplication, subtraction, and an exponent. So the exponent would be the place to start. That would give me 2 times 5 minus 3 squared is 9. Continuing to simplify in the numerator and the denominator. In the numerator, 14 minus 6 is just one operation. So the numerator has simplified to 8. In the denominator, I have both multiplication and division and subtraction. So I would do the multiplication and division first. 2 times 5 is 10 minus the 9. Still working within that grouping symbol, 10 minus 9 would simplify to 1. And now I only have one operation left, that's division. 8 divided by 1 is 8. So we've simplified D. And for E, we would again start with our grouping symbols. In the first part, the 5 and the 3 have been grouped together. And in the second part, I have nested parentheses. So I have the brackets, but then inside the brackets, I have another grouping symbol. So I would want to start with the innermost grouping symbol when I have nested parentheses. So I will start on the outside here. 7 times 5 times 3 would simplify to 15. And then nested inside this bracket, I would start by evaluating the innermost portion. 6 minus 3 is 3. And since I still have a grouping symbol here with the larger brackets, after grouping symbols, I move on to exponents and radicals. And I do have an exponent here. So I can simplify the 4 squared as just 16. And now with just one operation in the brackets, 3 minus 16 would be our negative 13. We have evaluated all of the grouping symbols. There are no more exponents. So I can now move to multiplication and division from left to right. We have multiplication here and here. So moving left to right, 7 times 15 would be 105. Negative 2 times a negative 13 would be a plus 26. And with just addition and subtraction left, I can go left to right. First, 105 plus 26, 131 plus 1, 132. So we have simplified the last one as well.